used to read articles in Indian Express that were finance
Okay.
or sports or those politics section that I'm not comfortable with, but I used to force myself to read and like get the knowledge how any passage is read. Like one thing that was a huge advantage to me was the peer learning in MICA. Like I learned from faculty as well; they are brilliant people. But when I discuss things with my student, I think MICA being the creative school gives you that creative and thinking freedom as a fresher. The interview was more about my SOP that I had written, more about my likes and dislikes. It was nothing out of concept, nothing out of the blue. कि उन्होंने कुछ और ही पूछ लिया मुझसे. It revolved all around my SOP and dislikes in life.
Hi guys, welcome. So today we have Yashika Jain, a second year MBA student from MICA. So we would be knowing her journey of how did she manage her ACATs as well as cracking CAT, JAT and MICAT, and her overall journey about the GE-PI experience of MICA. So hi Yashika, welcome.
Hi Aditya, thank you.
Yeah. So can you just give a brief background about yourself before we start?
Okay, so hi guys, I am from Delhi. I did my schooling from Ahmedabad and I was a science student, but I moved to Maths Honours from Delhi University. I was pursuing BSc Honours there, and because I love maths, I used to score well in maths and everything, so I thought that I will go to that actuarial field and everything, but in middle of it I realized that this is not my stream. So parallelly to my grad, I was also running a retail store. So I was running that retail store where I picked up my knack for marketing, and that's how I came to MICA. Yeah.
So I believe you were preparing for CAT and JAT along with your academics.
Yeah.
You've been in your final year. So can you just run through people who are planning to do this? Like how did you manage your time from your academy? You'll be having exams as well.
Yes.
How did you manage or break up your time?
So for me it was difficult because I was running my store, I was going to a coaching, it was offline coaching back then, and I was also taking my classes at university, so my time used to go like, so I used to take weekend classes for coaching that went for 6 to 7 hours per day, 6-7 hours Saturday, 7 hours Sunday. So in the meantime, in weekdays, what I used to do is I used to do the hygiene stuff for CAT. That was my main thing, that I had to give 2 hours every day for my CAT preparation. So that included verbal most, because I was very comfortable with quant. So quant was just 30 minutes brush up, but 1 hour I was dedicated for verbal. I used to read a lot of RCs, a lot of, I used to solve books about that, how to get answers right and everything. And 30% was DLR, the LRDI. And I used to read newspapers every day. I used to read Indian Express. That was the one thing that our coaching center mandated to do, because there was like weekend पे हमें फिर quiz होता था कि what did you read and what did you like and everything. So yeah, that was my weekday schedule, and in between I used to complete my undergraduation का stuff, like assignments आता था तो हो जाता. But 2 hours per day for weekday was my regime. This was before, like it was 7 months when I started my CAT journey, but in the last 2 months it went up to 4 hours every day. So I used to brush up verbal a lot because I was very weak at verbal, and quant remained somewhat what it was, and so my main focus shifted to verbal in the last 2 months of time. And similar strategy for ZAT I applied, and this is how I cracked CAT and ZAT. So yeah.
Got it. So you said you improved your scores in verbal. So was there any technique, like you started reading more, or did you start giving more mock tests? Then how did you analyze them, or what strategy?
So in my coaching center, they used to give sectional tests.
Right.
So I used to take a lot of verbal sectional tests, and I am not a person who used to like fiction. So I used to read articles in Indian Express that were finance or sports or those politics section that I'm not comfortable with, but I used to force myself to read and like get the knowledge how any passage is read when different genres come. Like it doesn't have to be a lot of fiction or a lot of non-fiction. So I used to read a lot of stuff.
Got it. And now if we move to MICAT exam, majority of aptitude section would be covered in your preparation of CAT and JAT.
Yeah.
However, there are few sections, say like descriptive section or the GK section or the psychometric section, where you need something extra, because that is not, those sections are not which are present in other
In CAT,
exams.
yeah.
So did
Got
you
it.
have any other plans
Yeah.
for that? How did you manage that?
So for MICAT, my 3 aims that I got to know from coaching mentors and seniors were that psychometric, descriptive, and one was conversion divergent.
Right.
These 3 sections were the most make and break and most different from other
Right.
exams that I used to give. GK had come in IFT and everything, so I was prepared for GK, but the marketing side of it I prepared specifically for MICAT. For descriptive one, the only studies I think that worked for me was I thought first and then started writing.
Okay.
So it was not like I was typing and while I was typing I was thinking. So I was like, I read the sentence, I got a brief story in my head and then I started typing. And that in those seconds I saved my time while putting in errors or while changing the idea in between.
Okay.
So yeah, for descriptive I did that. I'll take my time, I'll take 1 minute of mine,
Okay.
but I'll think it through and then start typing.
Is it both for story writing as well as for essay?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You took a minute of
Yeah.
pause and-
So I thought myself कि ये हो सकता है, मैं इसमें ये डालूंगी, and then I elaborated it as I went forward with it. So this was for my descriptive section. For psychometric, I tried to stay as true as I am.
Right.
I did not try to forge any answers or did not try to go out of my way to be that ideal candidate
Right.
or like make false answers and everything. So psychometric was that, just be true to yourself. And the third, convergent divergent, I gave a lot of time to it because convergent divergent had many tricky questions and it was basically both quant and logic
Right. Yeah.
together. So I gave a lot of time to that section and so I started with convergent divergent, then descriptive because psychometry is the first thing that we have to do. So yeah, so my strategy went with that. And then again, Baki section was like free flow.
Got it.
GK का idea, वो का idea.
So this question comes up many a times that as a fresher should you join MICA
Yeah.
or any of these or whatever. Now we know for a matter of fact that in MICA there are almost 50% of freshers. So in your almost 2 years are completing now. So in your 2-year journey, what were the few advantages or the disadvantages which you found?
As a fresher.
Yeah, as a fresher.
So I was straight out of college. I gave my final year undergraduation exams while I was giving my
Right,
term
I
1
remember.
exams. Yeah. So I was a complete fresher with no background from business education wise, but I had my experience in that term because I ran a retail store. So as a fresher, there are a lot of advantages to you because you learn a lot of things that you never thought about. You learn from other students. So I learned a lot from you guys. Like, you guys bring a different perspective, a more corporative, more like streamline तुम्हारा thoughts आता working वालों का. And I think one thing that was a huge advantage to me was the peer learning in MICA. Like I learned from faculty as well. They are brilliant people. But when I discuss things with my student friends, like I discuss it with you, you come from engineering background, then I discuss with someone else who's from commerce background, some is from arts background. So अलग-अलग input मिलते हैं same problem statement के लिए. As a fresher, you take it all in. You absorb everything. So you can see everything and then make your own opinion about it. You don't have any preconceived notions about a particular topic or
You are
मैंने
more
कर लिया.
open-minded in that
Yeah.
sense.
In that sense, we are not rigid in terms of learning. So I think MICA being the creative school gives you that creative and thinking freedom as a fresher. So yeah, that was an advantage for me. And there was slight disadvantages, like some concepts were very alien to me, which took time for me to like grasp and to know the practicality of it.
Right.
जैसे कुछ चीज़ें फाइनेंस में होती है कि जब तुम काम करते हो तभी समझ में आएगी sort of thing. So yeah, they were minute disadvantages, but overall, I think freshers have a big advantage in MICA.
I think that's a very important point wherein she said that MICA being a diverse school, you get to learn from your peers who are from very varied backgrounds like engineering, or there are CAs who are studying here, there are people from arts and commerce background. So even if you are a fresher, when you work on a group assignment or something, you get views from these diverse fields. So being a fresher is not that, you shouldn't worry much about
It's
it.
your weapon, I would say. As a fresher, it's your weapon.
Right.
That you have a blank canvas in front of you.
Got it. And so coming to the last part, can you just describe your GE experience, like that day when the entire day, if you can run us through what happened and how it went.
It was a crazy day. So mine was 8:30 slot.
Okay,
8:30
morning
in the morning slot.
in Delhi.
In Delhi, it was in Dwarka Welcome Hotel and 13th March 2020.
Right.
Yeah. So we went in. I went in with a friend. So my friend also got a call, and we were in the same slot. No, not the panel. He was in a different panel. So we went in and everything. This was the first interview that I ever given for any school. And MICA does not have GD. So we are all prepared for GD ki bolna hai. So GE was something different. So we went in, we were called in a room, and we were a women's panel. We had 7 women and 1 guy.
Oh wow.
So it was a women-centric panel, which was one thing that was different to me because majorly हम करते कि लड़के इतने ज़्यादा होते हैं and everything. So we were made to like get those apron, wear those apron and everything. And the problem statement was we had to make a board game.
Board game.
Yeah, and there were a lot of stuff on it. There were like crepe paper, a duffly, tennis ball, crayons, chart
बस
paper
इतना
and
था कि
everything.
make a board game. इसके अलावा कुछ ज़्यादा information नहीं.
नहीं, just make a board game out of the stuff that is present on table. There is no कि thriller game बनाना, ये game बनाना, कुछ नहीं बताया.
काफी
Just
open ended.
काफी open ended था. अब it's to your interpretation. तुम्हें जो दिख रहा तुम्हें उससे बनाना पड़ेगा. They were playing cards and everything. And we had 45 minutes, 35 minutes for like making the scene, and 15 minutes of presentation, like show and play.
Okay.
So हम start किया. And the good thing about my panel was no one was very overpowering, which everyone was very collaborative. Not once I felt like I am being dominated by a single person in that
I
panel.
think that is the difference between GE and GD. Right?
Yeah. So it was more of a teamwork. So I started and we started giving ideas. कि हम chart paper पे 4 blocks बना लेते हैं, ये cards रख लेते हैं. We made a board game and everything, बहुत collaboratively. One thing that I think will help you in GE is try to give your ideas, but try to also accommodate others' ideas into your idea,
Right.
which I think worked for me. So my idea which I gave was used as the base of the game. Okay, so I suggested that do this, and we went ahead with that. But again, there was no friction between students and everything. We were all jolly and everything about it. This ended, and 15 minutes का हमने presentation किया, ये सब हुआ, and the faculties were like silent throughout. They were just observing us from a distant, stoic face, no expression. You cannot gauge कि हम गलत कर रहे हैं, सही कर रहे हैं. And we presented our game in 15 minutes and we were done. But again, जब हम room से बाहर निकले, we were discussing like shit, हमने अपने game को नाम नहीं दिया. Which we thought कि we should have done it, but in the long run, I think it worked for us.
time pressure में बहुत सारी चीजें.
Yeah. But that did not hinder us throughout that game, दिखाने में भी. So yeah, GE happened, and I was the first one in the panel to get interviewed. So I went in. I remember I was sitting outside the room, and the panel was discussing about coronavirus coming to India inside that. So I was like, oh shit, I did not read about coronavirus and everything. And I went ahead. The interview was more about my SOP that I had written, more about my likes and dislikes. It was nothing out of concept, nothing out of the blue कि उन्होंने कुछ और ही पूछ लिया मुझसे. It revolved all around my SOP and dislikes in life. So yeah, I had to make business strategy then and there. I had to present them something about how maths and marketing are similar. I had to answer questions like that. So my personal interview went a little for long, but it was a nice but gruesome. कि मेरे को grill भी किया, but it was nice. The experience was really nice.
Great. So, any last minute tips for the people who would be giving, exams as well as preparing for GE-PI?
Yeah.
तो तुम्हारी तरफ से, especially catering towards freshers, क्योंकि उनको थोड़ा रहता है कि experience लेना चाहिए या directly apply करना चाहिए, तो उनके लिए कुछ tips?
Okay. So for freshers, I think that one thing that works out for me is learn everything. Don't try to go like कि नहीं मुझे तो सिर्फ sales में जाना है, मुझे तो सिर्फ उसमें जाना है, तो मैं वही करूँगी. Don't try to do that. Take everything, make your decisions. You have 2 years to like explore about your other career opportunities, about yourself, कि तुम्हें क्या पसंद है. As a profession, marketing is good, but try to learn everything. This is when you come to MICA. And before that, for GE and PA, be yourself. Just be true to yourself. Don't try to overpower. Don't try to show that you're the biggest. Be humble, but be smart with that way. And coming to MICAT exam, MICAT just focus on descriptive, because try to be as creative as you can be and keep it simple. Don't try to use like a lot of good vocabulary, like good big words. And descriptive is the make or break. For like personally for me, it is that. And just try to focus more on descriptive and convergent directly, and you're good to go.
Great. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Aditya, for having me.